Do you have a butt kicker or transducer that's not getting the job done? Is it shaking to just the low-end sounds? What if it shook when it was supposed to? Sim Vive is an advanced multi-dimensional audio-based feedback software that utilizes 1 to 8 bass transducers and provides the correct physics-based vibrations throughout your simulator. This can greatly enhance immersion and drivability. All you need is one shaker, an extra sound card, and Sim Vive software. To check it out for yourself, go to simexperience.com and then click on products and then Sim Vive. Welcome to Inside Sim Racing and a semi-in-depth look at Assetto Corsa's most recent build, which is 0.7.1. I believe that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
If you're wondering who I'm sitting here with, this is Jason Dunnington, and he's a new friend of mine who lives up in the area. You may have seen him on the accelerator wheel stand review that we just did. Did a cameo appearance on that.
Right.
First off, let's introduce you guys a little bit to Jason. And first off, how long have you been sim racing, and how did you get your start?
All started sim racing with, Gran Turismo. The very first one came out, and at that time I didn't have a steering wheel or anything, and just kind of worked up from there.
Gran Turismo 5?
Gran Turismo 1 was
really?
my very first
so
one.
PlayStation 1?
Yeah,
okay.
PS1, and then just kind of evolved from there, always looking for some kind of, a better racing simulator, because that was as good as you got at the time,
Right. Well, unless you were on the PC.
Right.
So what about on the PC? Speaking of PC, what about on the PC, and when did you start doing that?
PC, after Gran Turismo 5, when their network went down, I started looking into that and jumped on there and been on there ever since for at least a couple years.
Okay, cool. Okay, so you've been PC, now how long have you been doing that then? iRacing?
iRacing, I think 3 years now.
Okay, cool. And tell me a little bit about your setup.
My setup started out full-on ghetto rig, was just whatever I could find in the house to put it together initially. Then moved on to, well, once I met you, and then you hooked me up with that GT Omega rig, and the Club Sport. Well, I moved up to a G27, and
now you had a DFGT originally, right?
Yeah, originally was my very first one. And won a Daytona 500 with that on iRacing and a computer.
Oh, nice.
So
you want a main performance PC?
Yeah. Got their little $1,700 computer, which is i5. It's awesome. Now it's my iRacing or sim racing computer, period.
Cool. Very cool. So now that you've got a little introduction of Jason here, we're going to talk about Assetto Corsa, which you just started running a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Right here.
Right.
And since he's now got it at home, and we've been messing around with it all weekend, and I've been messing around with it for since it came out. So we're going to go over some, again, this isn't going to be a review. This is just a semi-in-depth look at what's going on with Assetto now. And one of the things that just came out was and I don't know the exact model of the car, but it's basically a Lotus F1 car. Not the current version. It's a few years old as far as I know. And they give you two versions. They give you a standard and like a super version, S1.
Yeah.
And then Nürburgring came out, the GP course. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and some other things. So first off, let's talk about the physics. Netcar, or Kunos, has always been known for really top-notch physics, a physics engine and tire model. And now adding laser scan tracks into the mix, and we'll talk about their force feedback a little bit. They are really onto something, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. Coming from iRacing, and then, my braking points were right on with it. All around just felt really good. I was really impressed.
So mainly we started, Jason's first run in Assetto was in that Lotus. And I got to say, it is one of the best F1 cars I've driven in all of sim racing. Really intuitive as far as you can tell what the car's doing. I've caught slides in it. You did too.
Yeah.
And that and relating it to their force feedback is just amazing, and it just keeps getting better. When Assetto first came out with this early access build, their force feedback was a little weak, and since then they've really started to dial it in, and it's to the point where you have to tone it down a little bit. I toned it down from what you were driving the other day, because it's really strong and you can feel just about everything.
Yeah, the road, Yeah, it was crazy. When you had it set up before, it was almost pulling my hands off the steering wheel at times. I was like,
Yeah.
holy snikes, man. That was a lot. It brought the track to life big time.
Yep, for sure. And also using Sim Vibe on my rig here, and that it seems it's missing some effects. It doesn't have as many effects as you can run in, say, Game Stock Car, iRacing, or R Factor. Like you can do road feel, and but it's feeling pretty good, and it definitely adds to the immersion factor. So next up, I want to talk a little bit about the graphics, and there's another place. I gotta say, I'm really happy to see that Kunos has been keeping their word, and they promised updates every 2 weeks, and they had one on Valentine's Day on the 14th, and then they just had another one on the 28th. So they're really sticking to that 2-week path and coming out with an update. And if there's any little bugs, they've even come up with quick updates to the updates. And back to what this is, if you're not familiar with Assetto Corsa, this is still in beta. And you can go on Steam and buy it. I think it's about $40. And I'd recommend getting it now because I think once it goes fully live, the price is going to increase, and then they're going to start adding, I think, pay for DLC, cars and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But you can get in on it now and help them develop it. So if you find bugs, which we found a few actually while we were, well, some are bugs and some I think are just things that need to be changed, in my opinion. Anyway, you can get in on it. So you can go on Steam and get this early access build. So this is still in development. That's why we're not going to do a full review here. Again, this is just kind of telling you what's going on with Assetto Corsa now. And we haven't really done this since the tech demo came out. So thought it was a good time to talk about it and share some of the things that we both found, and also introduce you guys to Jason, because hopefully he's going to be part of the show moving forward, and thought it would be good to get his opinion and share it with you guys. So let's talk a little bit about graphics, which I've seen improvement on since they've started. And I'm running an SLI system here, dual 580s.
Right.
But I have to say, in triple screens, which is what we're running here, you can dial things to where frame rates were just smooth as silk.
Yeah.
No hiccups. And I've got it toned down a little bit. I've got reflections turned down and stuff like that. But graphics are really well done. And another area that I think is really cool, and I was showing Jason this, is, and we'll talk about the UI a little bit, but you can adjust the triple screen setup right from in-car, and you can tweak everything.
Yeah, it was quite amazing. You were showing me all those. That was shocking.
Did you deal with that? Did you?
I messed with it at home.
Yeah,
to get my setup, because I'm running triple screens with a Radeon 7970 or something like that. That with the single card works great.
So how did it run? How did it run on your card?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It was so smooth. I never had any hiccups, even when I was running against some AI later with multiple cars in the way. That we had that one weird little hiccup on that one. And
I think that was a CPU, because it actually, if you have CPU overload, first race that he ran, we had this little message that popped up. It said CPU at 90%. So I don't know if something was going on in the background, but never saw it again.
No, it totally went away after that, and then everything was, just very smooth.
So how are you as far as your graphics settings? Do you remember what you're running them at? Are you running them full blown with everything on, or you have them toned down? Because I've got them pretty low on this system.
Right. I have mine set on stock. I haven't really messed with them. I was gonna tune them up, but just put it on from the download.
Whatever it loaded?
Yeah, just tried that to see how it was going, and I didn't have any little shutters or any weird thing going on, so I was pretty impressed with as smooth as it was already, being still beta.
Right on. And then I want to talk about sounds a little bit too. And sounds are pretty cool. I mean,
awesome.
Yeah,
very good.
I like, one of my favorite things about Assetto is it's got, when you run off track, two things I love when you run off track. One, your tires build up dirt.
Yeah, which is sweet.
And you come back on, and if you gas it, you're going around.
Yeah, it's definitely slick. It gives you the extra dirt feel that you should have in that.
And the other thing that's cool is that you can hear pebbles and rocks coming up through the chassis.
Right.
Which really is it's just a cool feature. It just adds to the whole experience. It just really makes you feel like you're in a car. So Sounds are really well done, and I really don't have any complaints on the sound. I saw some complaints, I think, in one of the forums or somewhere, that they were kind of weak. And again, they're still improving stuff. I know they made some improvements to some sounds previously, so
Right.
I think their sound engine's pretty hardy.
It is. It's great. And from autocrossing with like racing slicks on my car, it totally is the same sound that you get from the rocks coming up in the chassis when you're cruising to get ready to go, or not necessarily off, but in the pits.
We talked a little bit about the UI. I think it's one of the best UIs in all of sim racing, to be honest. I like all the different apps that they've added and the ability to make the adjustments. And if you're not sure how to do it, you basically scroll to the right side of the screen, and a whole menu pops up and gives you a bunch of different options. And then you can take things and move them wherever you want on your screen.
Which is beautiful, especially with the triple screens.
Yep.
You can move them out wherever you like to where they're out of your way, but they're still in your peripheral. So
Yep.
it really is nice.
Yep, I agree. So moving on, we were originally going to have Jason do an AI race and kind of just do a test drive and make this kind of a quickie deal like we've been doing. Kind of a talk and drive. I was going to actually do commentary while he drove, and that turned into a mess.
It did.
We had 10 cars with that Lotus, the F1 Lotus, at Nürburgring, and I don't think there was one race you started where in turn one those guys weren't all over the place.
Yeah, no, I tried even at home a few times, and it was like they're running with blinders on. When they're by themselves, they're awesome, but when they're up together, they don't have any reaction time for the situational awareness that you would be normally looking at a whole screen.
That may change from car to car. I mean, we were just, again, that was in the Lotus. I originally, a few months back did a race in the BMW, and I had a pretty good race. I had a solid race, and this is the very first version of the AI that they had come out with. And again, your mileage may vary from car to car, but an AI has got to be, and I've heard this from different developers, one of the toughest things to develop and code. So we scrapped that idea. We got some footage of it here. Actually, we got the last lap of your race where it was a 5-lap race, and the AI didn't take enough fuel, it seemed.
Right, yeah.
Jason made his way up to, he was starting 10 cars ahead of him, and he's 11th, and worked his way through the field, and a lot of it was due to their messing up, and you actually messed up a couple times.
Yeah.
But ended up like 3rd or 4th coming into the last couple corners, and all of a sudden, they just started pulling off the road.
Right. I was like, wait a second, what's going on?
And he ended up winning the race.
Yeah.
I think the last car was on the front straight and just stopped.
Yeah, he was almost to the end, but he couldn't even coast to the finish. Yeah, it was kind of...
So AI needs some work for sure. So we scrapped that idea and then went to the time attack. And initially that was a lot of fun. Basically, you're going through checkpoints, which are actually sectors, and getting points awarded to you for, going through those sectors. And I initially thought that, as a racer, faster you go, the more time you're going to have to continue to get more points, and consistency was going to pay off. And
didn't really work like that, did it?
No, the faster I got, the lower the points I was scoring. This guy goes home and I scored 11,000 points, and I could barely get to 9,000. And at the time, I'm running 141s, and he was in the 143 range, and I'm like, dude, this is not right. And I was literally pulling my hair out, trying to match his times and William Marsh, our bloggers. And actually, I was getting really frustrated because I'm like, wait a second, I'm faster than you guys, and you guys are beating me with points.
Yeah.
What is wrong with this? So anyway, you figured it out, and then I got a hold of, I guarantee I'm going to butcher his name, Aristoteles. I'll just call him Aris. He's one of the developers at Kunos, mainly on the physics end, and I told him, I said, dude, something's wrong with the time attack. I said, why does it seem like I need to start slow and build my times up to score more points? And he's like, yeah. He's like, let me give you a tip, actually. Put the medium tires on and start a little slow, and then
work up.
Start working up. So I personally don't like that. I think it's kind of flawed. This is just my opinion. I mean, you guys are welcome to share your opinion on our comments or on our forum, but I think it should be, back in the day, pole position,
Right.
faster you were, more consistent you were, the more time would be added to
your
overall thing, so you can continue running. Bottom line is, you put a quarter in the machine, and the better you were, the longer you raced.
Yeah, and that's how it should be, you know.
And that's not how it is with the time attack in this, and so that's what was just confusing the crap out of me. You know, the better I got, the lower my scores were.
Right.
So I ended up putting the medium tires on, milking my first lap, milking my second lap. I ended up scoring like 13,000 points.
Yeah.
So we were going to do a little competition in that, and then we realized that it was kind of flawed and you kind of had to milk it, so I threw that out the window. So we just actually started hot lapping, and I remembered that there was this app. You know what? That's the cool thing about Assetto Corsa. It's moddable, and there's a few different modding communities that are starting to make mods for it. Radiator Springs, those guys made mods back for Netcar Pro. And now they have an app called RSR Live Timing. And basically it's a leaderboard setup. And it keeps track of the different age you have turned on or off, all sorts of different stuff, the type of tires that you're running. And then it basically puts you on a leaderboard against everybody else that has that app running. And it also ties you into Steam. Then I found out there was another app, a guy pointed it to me on the Assetto Corsa forums, called Rivali. Or the company's name is, or the modding group is named Rivali, and they've made this live timing app as well. And they have a leaderboard. And I actually like that one because you can change it to show your Steam friends, the world leaderboard, or your country's leaderboard.
Yeah, which is really awesome.
So now we're competing each other on that leaderboard, which is a lot of fun. And you just basically load it. Make sure you follow the instructions. Basically just unpacking it into a Steam apps directory or Assetto Corsa directory. And then on that UI, when you scroll over to the right, you can add that to your screen. And
right.
You can have that leaderboard up the whole time you're running. So.
And again, anywhere you want it on your and anywhere on your screen.
Yep. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up. Again, we didn't want to go in depth, and we don't want to go too long, and just wanted to tell you what was going on with Kunos and the most recent Assetto Corsa build. If you don't have it, you should definitely check it out. It's worth the $40 for sure. I'd say they've come far enough now where it's well worth the $40.
Yeah.
Would you say it is?
Definitely. And I like the beta idea because then you can input while they're still developing. You can give them ideas of whatnot that they might not know. So it's really good all around for everyone to jump in on that and get yourself on the leaderboard.
Yeah.
Start off and start competing with us because
you might be frustrated with the AI and you might get frustrated with time attack, but definitely do some hot lapping. Oh, speaking of which, we have, if you come to our forums, we have an Assetto Corsa section. And a guy named Tucker in our forums has created a group on Steam. We got about 30 people on it now, but we'll have a link to it here in the description so you can join. Actually, I'm going to have links to Rivali and Radiator Springs, the live timing app, in the description of the show too, so if you want to grab that. But join our group and come and join in the forums and talk to us about what you're doing with Assetto Corsa. I got to say, and just in closing, these guys are on par to make one of the top-notch racing sims of all time.
I agree. I totally agree. You guys, you got it good. You started out great with a tire model. That's probably the most awesome tire model in the industry at this point.
I think in iRacing with their new tire model 5, like I did a piece on the Radical. I'd say all the cars in iRacing that have the new tire model 5 are on par with what Netcar or what Assetto's got.
Yeah.
And, you know, is Assetto Corsa ever going to have the competition structure that iRacing has? Not sure, but as long as they have some of these other fun things, like the leaderboard stuff that you're doing, and, you know, they really start improving that AI, they could really have a top-notch sim that I'd recommend getting it now because I think they've done such a great job of developing it, and they've kept to their promise of every 2 weeks they're coming out with new content. And
we'll see what they come up with. I would love to see what they can do with their multiplayer once that pops out.
So anyway, that's going to wrap it up. If you haven't checked it out, go to Steam and just do a search for Assetto Corsa and you can get in on it now. I guess, again, their early access is about $40. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, come to our forums, isrtv.com/forums, and check out our Assetto Corsa section. Come join in on the conversation. Join us on Steam as well. For Jason Dunnington, I'm Darren Ganji. That's going to wrap things up. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.